Saturday morning, and we're kicking off the Experts program here on Power Talk Radio with expert number one, Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group. Good morning, Luis.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So we have an interesting chat today. We're going to talk about what's going on to get more folks involved in tech jobs here in the Monterey Bay Area. A lot of times when we think of tech jobs, our default thought is Silicon Valley. But you're an advisor. You're a curriculum advisor to Hartnell, MPC, and Cal State Monterey Bay. And what exactly are you doing, and how are we developing tech jobs in the Monterey Bay area?
You hit the nail on the head. A lot of times when we think of tech, we always think of Silicon Valley. But the reality is that, we have a large number of tech jobs down here, everything from healthcare information technology with all the hospitals and clinics that we have to, our kind of businesses that do IT support for companies in the area, and even ag companies. More and more of what they do is now, wrapped around technology. So it's not just about being a foreman out in the field or planting crops. You really need to understand technology. And so I've been working along with a number of other business professionals for the last few years with our local educational institutions to try to create meaningful curriculum that could be applied immediately and result in people being able to graduate with either with a certificate of some sort or an associate's degree, if you're talking about the community colleges, or
right.
If you're talking about CSUMB, a 4-year degree, and get to work in IT and in technology. And we've made some really good inroads, and the number of students that they're graduating is growing more and more. So, and when you think about it, it's an area of job growth that isn't going away anytime soon. There's something like 250,000 technology jobs across the country today that are being unfilled because people just don't have the skills for them, and organizations are desperately trying to hire people. And this is before we even get into what some future job opportunities are with robotics and artificial intelligence and even cybersecurity. So it's a growing field, and it's something that I think people, especially students who are in high school and looking to career choice, should take a real hard look at.
And generally well paying.
Very well paid. The average starting salary of a tech job is north of $50,000 a year, and that's just a starting wage. And if you're good at what you do and you continue to develop your skills and professionalize yourself, then earning 6 figures is not unheard of.
How exactly do you design a curriculum that highlights what's available out there and what are employers looking for?
Great question. And that's something that we struggle with all the time, because you have to balance what business people want and businesses want with what you can do in the rarefied air of the education institutions, because they have to follow certain rules. They just can't shift their classes from one thing to another on a dime. They have to go through a whole vetting process that usually takes several years before they can make a class change that's significant. So we try to look toward the future. And like, for example, 3 or 4 years ago, when we were having conversations about what's the curriculum going to look like in 2020, we were looking at things like robotics. We were looking at things like data analytics and cybersecurity as areas of growth. So they've been, our local colleges have been working with their staff and with the accreditation folks to create classes and courseware that will provide that kind of training, and doing it with enough advance warning that they can get out there. And they're also collaborating quite a bit with local high schools. More and more colleges, especially community colleges, realize that their best way to attract good students that are ready to start class on day one is to get them engaged when they're in the second and third, or third or fourth year of high school, where they can start taking some college level classes and prepare themselves for what a 2-year degree will require, or a 4-year degree. So they're working with MPC and Hartnell in particular, working very closely with the high schools in their districts to try to create programs that start at the high school level, but then feed right into the college level.
How do the programs differ at the 3 schools?
Well, they differ primarily based on what their student population looks like. Hartnell, for example, serves largely Latino, what we would consider minority student base. So they have to start with a little bit more care in terms of preparing the students for the kind of classes that they need to take in order to get a degree in information technology or computer science. Whereas the students on the peninsula that go to MPC tend to have a little bit more of a leg up. You have high schools like Carmel and Monterey High that have a different kind of student population that tends to be a little bit more ready for college. And so they can focus on some different types of things. But then CSUMB is kind of an equal opportunity. They have to take on all comers. And one of the nice things about CSUMB is that they're graduating a number of students who are in the minority population organization that are very attractive to Silicon Valley, because Silicon Valley is having a hard time filling their self-imposed quotas for hiring underprivileged and minority folks. And so they look at CSUMB as a really good place to recruit the kind of students that they can't find up in the Bay Area.
Okay. So it sounds like
I was going to say, it's a great opportunity. If you haven't looked at technology as a career choice, I would encourage everyone, whether you're a tech head or a gamer, or even, especially if you're a young woman and you're looking at kind of jobs can I get that really have some future potential. Those jobs have a lot of growth in them far into the future.
Well, and what's interesting too, Louis, is a lot of times there's a kind of a misconception that people might have, or a misperception, that when we talk about tech jobs and people automatically think of Silicon Valley, their orientation gravitates towards Cisco, Oracle, the actual manufacturers of the software and the programs and so forth. And that's kind of a lot of people's narrow definition of technology jobs. But as you pointed out, technology is in everything, right? There's IT jobs at our local hospitals, in our universities, in our ag businesses. So the opportunity to use a technology education isn't just in the confines of Santa Clara County. It's wherever you happen to find technology, which is everywhere.
Yeah, which is everywhere. I mean, if you work in a modern office, everything you do has some technology component to it, whether you're working online with your accounting system, or you're collaborating using Slack or Microsoft Teams or one of those tools. It's all tech-based, and somebody needs to be able to manage that and train others on how to use it and fix it when it breaks. It's a really good opportunity for somebody that, even if you don't want to get into hardware, you don't want to mess around with fixing computers or fixing laptops. Most of us don't do that anymore, by the way. A lot of the jobs today are in helping other folk collaborate and connect. So there's a lot of consulting that goes on as well that, is another career opportunity.
All right. Louis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has been our guest this morning here on Power Talk Radio, 1460 and 101 FM. Online, it's alvareztg.com. At AlvarezTG is their Twitter handle. And Louis, how about the telephone number for the I-Team?
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.
And that's one of those jobs we talked about.
Exactly.